to another episode of ManClub. We've been looking at our power steering fluid, and it looks to be about 3 years old, and it's starting to get a little bit brown. So today we're going to go through a real quick job on how to flush the power steering fluid. Without further ado, let's get going. Alright, for today's job, I would suggest 4 to 5 quarts of the power steering fluid. I only use the Honda fluid. Online it's about $3.50 a quart. I think at the dealer it's about $5.75 to $6, but with the shipping in it's kind of a wash. Some protection in the form of gloves and some eye protection, flat tip screwdriver, and some kind of pliers from to get the clamp off. These are my grandpa's. These were actually made in the USA, so that's old school. A small kind of steel container to get the drippings from the inside, a bigger container for the pump. This is a 3/8 inch outer diameter piece of I guess it's nylon. It's like water line with a screw clamp, and that's pretty much all you need, and a couple of rags. So that's what we're going to need for today's job. Not too bad. First thing we're going to do is locate the power steering fluid pump fluid reservoir, which is right over here. On the front wheel drive Hondas, they're all going to be on the same passenger side, right up here on the front by the front wheel well. And before we do anything, I just like to generally clean the area, because you don't want any contamination going into this when we start adding new fluid. With the overhead view here, if you look down and take a flat tip screwdriver, right down in here there's a little clip that you can push back and then kind of lift this out of its cradle to get a little better access to it and be able to work with this. So basically what we're going to do is going to lift it up, and the return hose, which is the smaller of the two, which is right here, we're going to pull off this clamp and drain what's left inside of here into a can or some kind of receptacle. So as soon as you pull that hose off, you might want to put some rags down there, because it's going to start flowing out. Okay, we put our gloves on here, and we got our rag down there, and a little old green bean can or whatever, steel can down there as a catcher. Basically all you got to do here is take your trusty pliers and just grab that clamp, move it out of the way, and then we're going to slowly pull this off here and hopefully not make too much of a mess. Drain it into the can, and you can see that fluid is not exactly clear anymore. It's not bad, but we'll just let it all drain out there. So gravity does most of the work for us here. Since we've loosened this up and we pulled it out, you can basically lift this thing up and tilt it like that, and just try to get all that fluid out of there as much as possible. I'm doing this as a just an example of how to do this without a vacuum. What I would use if I wasn't doing this video today would just been my my vacuum pump, and I would have just sucked it, most of it out to the top. But this should show anyone how to do it there at the house with minimal tools. Okay, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, 3-year-old fluid. I have an old, I think this is a window washing fluid jar. So I just label it with what's in there, so when I go turn it in, I know what to tell the guys at the city. But you can see here, that's not exactly clean anymore. So I think we're due for this. This is going to be a little bit smoother on the turning of the wheel. Now let's get the other stuff out. Okay, so we're done draining this guy. We got as much out as we can. I mean, you can't get it all, but just get as much as you can. And slide it back down on here until it clicks. And go ahead and put your cap on just to prevent stuff from getting in. So now what we've got is a drained reservoir. Here's our return line. What we're going to do is we're going to stick a line in here and run it out to a jug, and we're going to use the pump to push the rest of the fluid that's in the system out through this return line. Alright, so Put a little towel here on the side of the car because you don't really want this stuff on your paint. What we've got here is just a screw down type clamp to get us nice and tight, and I guess this is a 3/8 outer diameter, just a piece of plastic tubing. And this, well, first of all, we got to put our clamp on. This should fit pretty close to in here. You want to make sure it's clean, and you just slide this guy over like so. It's a little tight, and just tighten this thing down. And the reason I'm not using this pinch one is I don't know that it'll get tight enough because there's a lot of pressure when you start using the pump. So I'm going to tighten this guy down, and then we'll stick the other end of this tube into the power steering, the old jug of power steering fluid, and crank it up and turn the wheel a little bit until we pump all the juice out. This is the kind of situation we're ending up with here. We've got this tightened down. This goes out to a tube which is going to go into a jug. I still have my rag down here to catch anything that comes out that might spill out of here, but just make sure that your rag is out of the way of all the belts and everything else, because you don't want that rag getting sucked up through the belt. So with that all set up like this, we just need to put it in the jug. I'm going to get an assistant to help me out with this one to start the car while I'm holding the end of the jug, watching the fluid come out, and have them turn the wheel side to side until we start shooting a bunch of air. So to bleed, we're going to just stick the tube into the end of the jug here and have our assistant start the car, and the pump will do the work. Out it comes. And you can turn the wheel a little bit and kind of push it out, and that's it. Go ahead and cut it off. It's just that easy. As you saw there was air at the end, so we're just going to come in here, undo this, and hook it back up and fill this up, and then we'll just bleed the system. You can see how really nice and clear that new fluid is. We'll just fill it up to the max line, then we'll restart it, and it'll suck all this juice out, and then we'll have to just keep topping it off and bleeding it. Okay, cut it back off. You can still hear it's thirsty, huh? Alright, start it back up again. You turn the wheel just real slow. So turn the wheel. Turning easy. Turning easy. Okay, come on back. Turn it back. Go back and forth a couple times. You can see the bubbles on the top there, so it's bleeding out. Cut it off. I don't know if it's real easy to compare or not, but I can see through that plastic that the fluid inside is a lot cleaner now. I wound up flushing it twice, and I just topped it off. We went back and forth, let it run, and turn the wheel end to end for a few times, and you'll see all those bubbles coming out, and it becomes a lot smoother. And once you're done with that, just top it off, and we're calling it a day. Well, this concludes another episode of ManClub. It was a pretty simple job, made simpler by having an assistant around to start it up and turn the wheel for me while I'm keeping an eye on everything. But power steering fluid change, not too difficult. Don't be afraid to try to tackle this at home. And we always appreciate your viewing and clicking on sponsors if you don't mind throwing a few pennies my way. So until next time, keep them hanging.